Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Mike. Welcome back. It's IncrediChat, brought to you by Incredicon, the Hudson Valley's family-friendly comic and pop culture thing. Awesome things coming with that. This is actually our first big IncrediChat that we've done, gosh, probably since February, right before we went to the 90s Con. And what's cool tonight is we got one of the awesome guests from 90s Con with us. So this is the perfect way to come back. I know I'm excited for tonight. I know we got a lot of people who are waiting in the wings there with some comments and stuff. So everybody who's joining us, come and watch. And let's welcome in one of my favorite people from one of my favorite shows growing up, the Mickey Mouse Club. Please welcome in Jennifer McGill. Jennifer, there you are.
Hello, it's good to see you.
Yes, good to see you again. We had a good time at 90s Club.
We did. Thank you so much for bringing me over to hang out with some Skeksis and some cool people and Bill Diamond. That was amazing.
And you said you had a dark crystal cat, right?
I have a what? A what?
You had an animal named after one of the characters, right?
I did. I had a fabulous calico Persian, and I named her Agra. And what's interesting was I thought I spelled it differently just to be, but now I've seen other references that maybe I did actually spell it correctly, but she looked very much like the character Agra. She was always kind of giving everyone the side eye and scrunchy face. So I loved her dearly. Yeah. Big fan of
I think it's AUGHRA, something like that.
I spelled my cat's name AUGHRA. And I thought that it was spelled differently in the show, like Ogra. And I just kind of made it Agra because I just thought that was very beautiful. But yeah, it was an homage. So I got it right anyway. Like I was super close.
Yeah, it worked out well.
Yeah.
And I can pull up that picture later on too. So we have some people here. I mean, obviously fans of yours.
Yeah.
Hello,
fans.
But definitely, I want to talk to you about how you got started in showbiz. I know you started on Search with Ed McMahon. Was that your first chapter, or was there even more before that?
Actually, I've only visited the Star Search stage after I made it on the Mickey Mouse Club. I started in pageants, so it was just a different form of talent shows, but I don't think any of them were televised. But I did about 3 years of pageant life. From about 7 to 10 years old. And it became kind of like my soccer. It was just the thing that I would go do. I trained for it. It was my sport. I really, left everything on stage. And once it was over, I kind of returned to just being a normal kid. I didn't really wear like ruffles and rhinestones all the time. I wear more rhinestones now on a daily basis than I did back then when I was in pageants. And so, yeah, I mean, that was just basically my first love was to sing in front of a live audience. And when I was 10 years old, one of my last pageants, we met a talent agent who was one of the judges. And on a handshake with my mother, she started representing me for auditions. And I'm pretty.
Oh, you just froze for a minute. Oh, sorry, folks. Technical difficulties. We lost Jennifer for a minute.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
Yeah.
Happened. Technology.
I know, man. It's like we're leaving everyone in suspense. But yeah, just right at the end there on a handshake between her and my mother, she got me into some auditions. And I'm pretty sure the first or second one was the Mickey Mouse Club movie called Why Because We Like You. It was going to be filmed in 88, 89. And I actually got the part of Doreen or Darlene. Depending on how tall I was when they started filming. But the writer's strike happened and that movie got canceled. But Matt Casella, who had been casting that movie, was also casting the series, the new Mickey Mouse Club. So my videotape and Chase's and Tiffany's were sent to the final auditions. And we all showed up together in Orlando for the very final in-person audition. And that's how I became a Mouseketeer on the new Mickey Mouse Club.
Wow. Now, tell us a little bit about that they were going to do. So it was being produced by Disney at the time?
I don't know what the production company was, but Matt Casella was our casting director for that movie as well as the series. And so the movie, I never saw a full script, but the idea was that it was going to be about the original Mouseketeers. So possibly like a what do they call that? It's like a a true story, but it's reenacted. So they would just they probably were gathering the stories from the original Mouseketeers, and they were going to put it into some sort of script where this is how the Mickey Mouse Club got started, and so they needed all the children to be able to sing, dance, and act just like whatever character, whatever Mouseketeer we were playing. And so Matt's focus was a little different because he was trying to match people. And at the time, when I look back, I really did look like Doreen. And I think we sang pretty similarly. I wanted to play Darlene because she was older and just, I just really thought she was just extra gorgeous in her olderness. And, but really I was the Doreen age. But again, it was very short-lived because all of this happened when I was 10.
Oh, it's buffering again. We love technology, folks. It's okay. Jennifer will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
I'm so sorry it keeps cutting out. This never happens, so I'm just gonna blame it on you. But I'm even gonna take my phone off of the Wi-Fi just in case, because that's just so strange. But yeah, so all of this happened when I was 10 years old, like from the pageant days ending to getting my representative as a children's agent, to getting through the auditions, and to getting into the show. So it was all very quick. And all of a sudden, still at 10 years old, I'm working on the pilot of the all new Mickey Mouse Club series.
Yeah, because that movie that you're describing too, I know in the 90s they had like the movie, like the Disney, was it the Disney Family movie, the Disney Sunday movie? That probably was what they were shooting for, I'm sure.
Right. I just, at that age, I don't know if anybody really, I don't remember my parents sharing with me lots of specifics, because again, I just don't even think it was that long of a duration. I think that we were just so excited. We were really kind of the Willy Wonka mentality, where it's just kind of like, sign away, Charlie, we got nothing to lose. This was all very new for us. We weren't in the business. We weren't strategic career families at the time, like where I was. We were not a career family when it came to stuff like that. We were in a very small town, and we just didn't know how it was done. And so the fact that we were getting flown to Los Angeles for me to audition in the final kind of reel for the movie, and to meet other kids who are going to be in the movie and perform in front of everybody in LA, that was such a big deal.
Yeah.
I have no idea what any of us knew about the details at that point. But, the punchline is the movie didn't get made. So.
But it opened up other doors. So let me ask you, because I've heard from some of the other Mouseketeers about that audition process. So like you said, you, Chasen, and Tiffany were chosen. Did you guys, Matt Casella, did he have you guys go through the whole process to be a Mouseketeer again? Or did he kind of say, these three I liked from this, and we're definitely bringing them over to the show?
Well, we did. I personally had, after the LA time for the movie, I had one more audition, which was, as far as I know, the final audition for the series. So I only actually auditioned once.
Gotcha.
For the series. So I did an in-person audition with Matt Casella. I went to LA, did the big one for the movie. And then I went to Orlando and did the big one, the final one for the series. So my journey might have been way shorter than a lot of other kids who were coming out of levels, of them narrowing it down. And, I'm sure, because I've often wondered through the years, like, how on earth did Matt choose this blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl? Like, what was up with me? And it may have been because I really did have that extra time to shine and to really show who I was as a young raw talent, through the movie audition. He got to know me a little better. I always look back on the audition tapes, and Chase's audition tape is amazing. He's just so good. And I just think, like, I don't understand. Even though Chasen and I did meet for the first time at a talent show, and I did win. So there is that. That is a notorious story among me and him and his family, how that went down. But I just turned 10 and it put me in a whole new age range of competition. And he was one of the older ones in the competition and I totally won. So.
Now, you said now this new audition, you were California, Orlando. You mentioned the Wonka kids, right? So
yes.
Very true. So now here you are, a 10-year-old, going down to Orlando to Disney World. What was that like?
Time. Yeah. It was so, my family.
You had like the magic key, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had silver passes. Yeah. We had ID cards. Like, I've been an employee for the Walt Disney World Company since my days at the new Mickey Mouse Club shoots. But yeah, like I had an employee ID and a silver pass by the time I was 11. I'm sure I had it when I was 10, but let's just say round it up. Like by the time I was 11. And it was very surreal. Of course, I had nothing to compare it to because my family had maybe gone to Six Flags once. Usually we just went to have family reunions. We just didn't really go a lot of places. And to all of a sudden sort of graduate to living at and basically working in and having access to Walt Disney World all the time, like back when there weren't any blockout dates for the holidays, it was just huge. I mean, I remember even taking my high school friends for New Year's Eve, like at Epcot for the fireworks and just for free. I'm like, here are 3 friends, come on in, we're going to go enjoy New Year's Eve, so it was very surreal to go from one point to that next point of full access. But when people ask me what was it like, to live and work on the set, I mean, I started so young. I don't really know. I don't really have anything to compare it to. It's almost like, what was it like to go to elementary school? Well, you just go, like, you go and there's the hallway and there's the teacher, like you just go. I mean, I did it every day. So it felt very much like that. It became very much my normal because I was there so young.
And at that time too, there were a lot of productions going on. Now I know like the Disney, was it Hollywood or whatever, Hollywood Studios now. Then that was the Disney.
I believe that's right. It used to be Disney MGM Studios, yes, and now I do think it's Hollywood Studios.
They've gone through many, but even the tower that used to be on the credits for the Mickey Mouse Club is gone at this point now.
Yeah,
the Earful Tower.
The Earful Tower. That was so cool.
But outside of Mickey Mouse Club, there were a lot of other like productions going on there outside of all the theme park stuff. So again, you are now in this world of production. Like I know the Muppets were down there; they were doing like Kids, all these different you're showing these other programs. So, I mean, again, like Kid in a Candy Store rides, the celebrities you were exposed to and around. I mean, certainly all the guests on the Mickey Mouse Club too. Is there anybody in particular, either from the show or that you met down there from your experiences that really stick out to you?
Actually, there's some really big ones, and it feels so funny to like just talk about them. But one of my favorite moments was probably when I was 11 and we were still doing publicity for the opening of the park and the introduction into the show being aired for the first time, etc., and having the media get to know us, in person. Yeah. And I remember we were kind of waving and running off the stage, and we run into the backstage area, and we almost run right into Michael Jackson. And he had come visit. He came to visit us, but he didn't want all the press to know he was there. So he had kind of just hid around the side so that he could just come shake our hands and just say, I really love your show. I'm so glad this is happening. I'm so proud of you guys. Just wanted to say hi. I mean, I don't know what he was in town for. But I remember shaking his hand and he said, "Hi, I'm Michael Jackson." Like it was like as if I didn't know, right? "Hi, I'm Michael Jackson." And I was so small and he was so tall at the time. It was just so interesting. I'm like, "Hi." And I remember everybody knew who Michael Jackson was. And I just remember being very wide-eyed and I didn't have anything interesting to say. But he just was very proud of us. And that was really exciting because, you know, you kind of start with an icon, right? And then it's like, how do you follow that up? But honestly, one of the other most impactful celebrities I've ever met, we were at the Kennedy Center. I was probably 15 at this point, and President
Inauguration.
Yes, was getting inaugurated, or however that works, whatever that word is. And we were celebrating his inauguration, and we were doing a special for television that Will Smith was hosting.
Yeah.
And like, we got to watch Boys to Men and their mic check. And, you know, I'm sitting like on a piano bench backstage with Vanessa Williams, you know, and it was this another surreal moment, like where all these people were together. But there was this one moment where we were all in this line backstage and we were about to go on, and they had taught us a song last minute or something. And so I was saying to probably the Mouseketeer in front of me, I hope I remember the words to whatever we're about to go do on stage. And Celine Dion taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around and she says, "You're going to be wonderful." And I was like, okay. And so, you know, and she was pretty new to America, but I'm sure at that point, I already had all of her French albums as well. Like, I was a huge fan of Celine Dion already. And I was like, Celine Dion just told me I was going to be wonderful, so I'm going to go out there and be wonderful. And I really appreciate that about her. I just felt like she was always someone who would sprinkle a lot of joy everywhere she went. And so that was very inspirational to me. I always love a good moment with Boys to Men. I mean, we've seen them a few different times, and I just love them in every form. I mean, TLC, it's weird because like at 90s Con, you know, you see people that you kind of intersected with back in the day. TLC was a guest on our show. And, you know, even Melissa Joan Hart was at 90s Con, and I spoofed her on the show. I did something, I mean, it was about the Clarissa Explains It All, and I can't remember the title of it, but I dressed up as the Clarissa Explains It All character, and we did a little spoof on that TV show. And that was an honor, like to be the one who gets to play Clarissa. So just stuff like that. But Brian McKnight is one that I only, you know, I didn't really have any downtime with him, but he's just one of my favorite artists, and he came to our show. So I could go on and on. There was just so many amazing acts. And I was just really excited that I could kind of watch it from the sidelines, like see the production of what people did when they came to our show. And of course, beyond, like at the Kennedy Center, etc. I mean, we even met Alanis when she was just Alanis instead of Alanis Morissette, when she was starting her career in Canada. The MMC album tour did a Niagara Falls New Year's Eve special, and she was one of the guests on that show. So they introduced her as Alanis, you know, and we didn't know yet. Like, that was before college, when I was all about Jagged Little Pill, you know. But I would go back and watch the tapes, and I'm like, oh, that's Alanis Morissette. Like, we were literally next to her at Niagara Falls. Like, it's just amazing. So that's kind of how it went down. That was my childhood, you know. Just everyone around me was famous, it seemed like.
No, and that's a good thing. I want to go back to 90s Con in a minute. I just want to say hi to a bunch of people who are tuning in today too. We've got Harry.
Hi, Carrie. Jen is the best.
Jen is the best. Yes. We got Carrie watching us tonight. She's the one that's sending out the Unbreakable family.
Yes.
Susan Powell. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. She's sharing stuff out. The Flame Masters. Yeah.
What's up? Hey, Flame Masters.
The Flame Masters. My friend Sirajin, he's watching us today. Where's his name come up? There it is. Hey. Bella's out there too with Susan. Bella and Susan.
Yeah. Bella is Susan's daughter. Fabulous daughter.
Dillo is always MGM, it said.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I miss the MGM studio.
Yes, I know.
And then our buddy Eddie from Grand Slam Comedy. IncrediChat is back.
Eddie.
I do want to go to 90s Con because I know one of the guests at 90s Con, you had some experiences with him and a bunch of other people because you guys all did go to school together. So Joey Fatone, he was like an almost Mouseketeer, right?
I mean, he was there like half as much as I was, probably. Like, it was, I forget. I mean, I think I was the first Mouseketeer he met because we met the summer between 8th grade and 9th grade because we were doing some sort of acting workshop at our soon to be high school. And I know I had just been reintroduced into, normal school, like public school. We had been way isolated for a few years on the show, the way that they were structuring our shooting schedule and seasons. But then the second half of 8th grade, somehow I was released back into public school and trying to figure out how to socialize, kind of just dropped into a school. And so I made some great friends in some of my classes there, and they were also going to the high school. And so it's interesting because those friends then, of course, all became, friends with Joey, and we were all thespians together for the next 4 years, basically. And so, Joey and I were in the same grade, and back before you had like digital tickets to things, we somehow, like, our friends got us prom tickets to 9th and 10th grade for us, 9th and 10th grade prom. Right. And I didn't even realize, because remember, I really hadn't been brought up in like school culture. I didn't really know how everything was supposed to happen. And so I didn't know that it was a thing where it's supposed to be prom for, I guess, seniors or what. I just thought, I'm like, it's a dance. Like, we get to go, right? We're going to go. Cool. And so both, like, Joey and I, both as freshmen, like, are going to the prom. And then the next year we decided to go together again. And, just as friends. And though I did take him on a date once, I don't remember if it was 9th or 10th grade, but we did go to Epcot Center together because, and I had my silver pass since I was taking my friends there. So yeah, we did have a date on the Spaceship Earth ride, like the Sphere. Is that what it is? I do remember that. We were making fun of, we weren't making fun of Walter Cronkite, but we were imitating the voice, and it was really, really fun. But like, he was one of my super best comfortable friends, like someone I could really ask questions to, like just talk, like try to learn about life, because I was playing catch up in public school. And so he was one of my most comfortable friends, someone who really, I think, looked out for me. So and then so did you say the fiasco, or was that the word in my head? Like the fiasco at 90s?
I didn't say fiasco. Was there a fiasco?
I was thinking fiasco. Well, what was funny, like this was what I thought was funny, because I always think it's interesting that the media makes a big deal out of us going to prom. I get it, that because for most people that's like a big statement. But for us, for us, it's like we just went to a dance, and like it made sense for us to go together because there was no issue. So let's just go, and we had so much fun, and we just go and be with all of our friends. But like to say it, I went to prom, and then the media picks it up and it's this whole thing. And then I feel like embarrassed that they make a big deal out of it, but it's because he's just my, he's my friend. So, but the fiasco past that statement that people.com like picked up about whatever I said in the interview. So Joey wasn't there for like most of the con, right? Like
Sunday,
his travel plan, like something happened with his travel and he couldn't get there on time for Friday. And then he had already had some issue where he had to change his schedule ahead of time for Saturday. So we knew he wasn't going to be there for that. And then Sunday rolls around and it's like morning and then it's noon. And we're just like, is Fatone coming? Like, is he going to show up? So when I finally got word he was here, I had my escort take me around the back so that I could just, peek through the curtain and wave to him, like, oh, hey, just, and he's like, come here. Now I feel horrible because there's a sea of people who are trying to like get there and get their autograph or their talk with him or whatever they're doing. They've waited, I can only imagine, since Friday or whatever. And so I come out of the curtain and he just scoops me up and there's this big hug right in front of everybody. And again, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel so horrible. I just wanted to say hi. And then he comes back in the back just to catch up and talk with some of us back there, leaves everybody who've been waiting, you know. So to me, that was the fiasco, because I was just like, I didn't expect all of that. And I'm so grateful because, again, I can't explain, like, we are just such old friends, and I don't get to see him all the time, but it was just so good to see him, and I apologize for taking him away for a moment from everybody else, but just a dear friend. So that's, you know, we all love Fatone. That's just how it goes.
He's a great guy. I remember meeting him at the Florida event that I did. He was great.
So funny. Like, so for those of you who weren't there live for MMC 30, when we were doing our panel, the sound wasn't working on the sort of pre-video reel. And there were all these great shots, just a montage of Mickey Mouse Club antics from back in the day. So Joey, when the audio wasn't getting fixed, decided to narrate. And so he just started ad-libbing all over all the different antics that we were doing on the show. And it was so funny. And he's always been that way. He can make up lyrics out of nowhere. He always has a joke. He always has, you know, some sort of a witty twist to something. And so it was just perfect. It was perfect for us to have him there and represent us and help us that way as our MC and our host, because yeah, like he's been amongst us since probably 9th grade. That's probably, you know, when he started coming to visit. It might have been me that he started coming to visit on the show. But then he made lots of friends, obviously. Like he made more friends.
He's part of the family now.
Yeah.
So let me ask you now too. So you started at 10 years old. The show was on 8, 9 years.
The show, you know, it might have aired that long. We had 7 seasons, and I probably worked on the project. You know, the job probably lasted about 6.5 years for me. But yes, it probably was on the air for 9 or 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that affect you growing up as a young person, especially like when you would go back home? I mean, you were in Florida. You go back and go back home and visit friends and family. Having that notoriety, new notoriety. Certainly, you mentioned when the MMC album came out.
Yeah.
I got my little inserts. I mean, there was a big pop album. What was that like for you?
So in the very beginning, when I was still going back and forth from Orlando to Texas, my hometown there, I think, you know, as expected now, you know, hindsight is 2020, but especially when there was no cultural shift of children having jobs, and it being more accessible, like with social media, there was nothing like that to help people kind of understand what that was. No one had any reference in my town as to what the heck I was doing and why my family was sacrificing where we live to uproot and go to Orlando for this kid on what? Like, what is this? Where does she even, you know, is this even something that's going to last, you know? And that's super legit because so many pilots and television shows don't last, you know, as long as the contract that you signed to be available for the show. So it's not like that was anything that wasn't valid, but I think that probably the adults were giving my parents a little bit of pushback, and I know the kids were giving me a little bit of pushback. Kids will be kids, but really, I don't remember a lot of negativity coming at me, but I do remember being really nervous and anxious to visit 6th grade after being away for a few months and kind of coming into a new school and just not being sure about how to act. And I had a panic attack in 6th grade. And so I think I did worse at it than everybody else around me as far as trying to like figure out myself and fit in. But when the album came out, now in high school, we went to a visual and performing arts magnet school. So that was one of possibly the first schools in America, besides maybe in those regions like where LA is, you know, where they're more used to a lot of people auditioning all the time. That school was like purposefully open and flexible on me just literally not being in school for months. And they would have my curriculum working through the on-location education or the other tutoring services that would help us out, to make sure we were legally doing the schoolwork and the times and the hours that we needed to meet for a work schedule for a minor, you know, who had to be in school. And so I was always kind of going back and forth. And when the MMC album hit, it was a time when I was a junior in high school and we were back in school. And so it was time off from the previous season. So I would have to take a flight out to Scotland for the USO tour for the MMC, that section of that MMC tour. And I remember once I took a red eye back, finished my homework, and there was a limousine that picked me up, like just by myself, to take me to school on Monday. So I remember showing up to school with like my suitcase and like an Egg McMuffin and my finished homework. And I made them drop me off like right before the school because I didn't want to pull up to the front of my school in a limo, you know? So I guess that was kind of what it was. Like I would go to Scotland and do my work, and I, you know, nailed my work, and then I'd like switch gears and do my schoolwork. And then I would like try to downplay it at school, and like all I wanted to do was be in the musical at school or get ready for, you know, district competitions. And, you know, I was good at multitasking. And so for me, I don't remember, because my school was just interested in stuff like that. I don't remember it being as much of an issue as I know a lot of other Mouseketeers experienced way more of a different, I would say, a culture shock when they would come back to their homes away from Florida and try to, you know, reintegrate themselves into normal school life. I was really lucky. And a lot of us Mouseketeers did move through Dr. Phillips High School at one point or another, but I actually graduated from there with all my thespian friends. And the show ended, the taping ended, the last season 7 finished in time for me to finish out my senior year in high school, doing the musical and like doing all the final things and being able to be just a legit full-time kid, you know, for a little bit before I went to college. And so I had a great kind of smooth time of it. What was super funny was when I was in college and my friend asked me, I was in New York City, right? I was in the heart of Manhattan going to school. And my friend asked me to stop by like Tower Records for a Backstreet Boys signing. She wanted me to go through the line and get an autograph or something. And I was like, sure. I mean, that's great. And so I started approaching the line and I was like, you know, this reminds me a lot of the MMC tour lines. And I was like, oh crap, these people may know who I am. Like, oh no, what am I going to?
Oh, we froze at a good part. Jennifer will be right back, folks. Hold on. No.
Are we back?
We're back.
Oh, I love it.
Suspense.
Yeah. So I'm like walking towards the line and I'm thinking, you know, I wonder if anyone in this line would know who I was, because this looks like the same type of people who would stand in line for us. Yeah. And they started slowly, around the time I started realizing that, people started turning their heads towards me and realizing, and I was like, uh-oh. And so there was actually these 2 young ladies with their father who kind of rescued me and put like a VIP wristband on me. And we are actually all still very fast friends. Actually, their father just recently passed away this year, and they were the daughters were at 90s Con, and I got to hug them in person, you know, because he was such a great guy and he took such good care of me in that moment with his daughters. But yeah, that could have been a crazy situation. And I don't even think I'm one of the ones that would have like started some chaotic riot of fans coming at me with, you know, for autographs, but I could start seeing everyone's head turn. And I was just like, uh-oh, this may be a problem, you know, I don't know. Because this was the first time I was just by myself when something like that happened, I guess. It's stuff like that. I would get recognized in the grocery store or at like Busch Gardens with my friend, always somewhere else besides Disney. That was the most that I got recognized, was off property. And it became, again, just like everything else, it was part of growing up like that. So I don't quite know what it's like to be fully anonymous walking around. I always am prepared if someone knows who I am. It's not like I expect it, but it's just it's part of growing up that way. You kind of take in information and you're differently present with people ahead of time, when you're walking around.
And that's a nice segue too, because I know now you do work with young people who are interested in the performing arts as a career, and we live. I'm an assistant principal in a school, so I hear and see what these kids do, and we live in this world of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, and there's a lot of people that think about that fame, and fame is like so instantaneous now just from that. And I think like there's a lot of young people that don't understand, like you were just saying, once you have that and that notoriety, people start recognizing you. And like you said, like when you're on that line for the Backstreet Boys, like it hit you there, like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
So when they say there's sometimes a price, that's one of those price that, that being anonymous is not always there for you. And I want to ask you in regard, moving to where you are now with things. So I know you do work with young people. Did some of that come from your career as a Mouseketeer, because you were one of the few cast members that was really there from day one to the very end? So you got to see and probably mentor some of the young kids like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, who all came in at the end there, because you knew the ropes from the beginning.
Yeah, I would say that, I felt that my perspective was more of a fly on the wall. I just really enjoyed taking in all the aspects of production, but I also enjoyed, or maybe not enjoyed, but I was very conscious of everyone's behavior around me. And so I just have these very specific memories of even just us trying to all figure it out, or someone working very hard on a project, one of our bits, a skit or a dance number, and just sort of kind of clocking how everybody worked and shined, but also the challenges. And so, and then of course my own, just personal journey of trying to navigate through growing up and having to be a professional at all those different layers of development, in a young lady. And so it was, when you kind of have time away from that, and you kind of, for me, I can only speak for myself. I went through my darker years of struggling with the idea of fame, because a lot of what was happening to me was all of these wonderful talents around me were starting to become actually famous. And that's, jokey truth, right? Like the Mouseketeers are a brilliant company and a brilliant group of people, but there's this other version of fame that a lot of people have achieved that is way more worldwide as far as household names versus a household show, and I went through my time of sort of being faced with people coming to me and saying, look, you're so great, why aren't you famous? She's out there doing the thing and he's out there doing the thing, and everybody around you in high school is getting famous, and like, what's up with you, man? Why aren't you famous? And to me, I understood that it was a compliment, but I also understood there's a parallel with something that anyone could get asked, like, you're so great, why aren't you married? You guys look like you're doing so well, why don't you have a kid? You're so good at your job, why aren't you further along in your career? I mean, everybody has this parallel of the world trying to put the label on you or trying to pressure you to be in a different place than where you are right now. And it's like they make you want something that you don't have yet. It's kind of the grass is always greener. And so, I took many, many years to kind of contemplate all of that. And not all of those years were awesome. But, really on the other end of it, I realized that my purpose, based on how, God has navigated me through this life, my purpose wasn't to be that kind of famous. My purpose was to be able to help guide those who have that trajectory and really kind of be in their foundational team. And I found that really is where I thrive anyway. I don't really think that when someone works towards the label of fame and that status, that moment of accomplishment, everybody can probably imagine the moment, this is the pinnacle of what I would think of as being famous. But young people don't necessarily calculate the time and the effort that it takes to climb that ladder, and what you sacrifice, and what games you have to play. And now we have the whole social media game. There's so much to it, and I just think that if people, because I stood back and watched for all those years, and I was around enough of it, and was rubbing elbows enough with that, I just think that I became a different kind of compassionate for the idea of fame. And I just thought, I don't think that's for me. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's going to work out. I don't think that I would survive it in many ways. And so let me help other people if they want to do that. Let's inform them better. Let's get them to a healthier, more whole place of being an artist, so that they carry that with them, so that when they are met with a challenge or a sacrifice, they can be better informed on what they can decide to do. I think that was a lot of the gap that many people fell into between Mickey Mouse. Now, I'm not talking about Mouseketeers in any kind of specific way, but like from the Mickey Mouse Club days kind of through now, but it was really kind of through that millennia, kind of the 2000s. Yeah. There was a lot that changed in the business. And I think that I just want to be a part of a team that isn't just a yes team. It's we've been in the trenches. We've seen how to do it right and wrong, and we're here to help you. We're here to advise you. So, I come from a family of teachers and a family of encouragers and nurturers. And so I've really found my place in the business. And even with that, it's not really just one level. I mean, in the company I work for, which is PCG Artist Development, I'm an executive there. I'm one of their communication hubs, but I also branch out. I coach in live performance, in vocal. I assist on video shoots and production development and set design. I assist in video editing and lyric videos. And, my eyes and ears are on a lot of the product that our artists are developing. Yeah. And I love that. I love it that no week looks the same, and that our artists continue to evolve, and we're meeting new ones constantly as the company grows. And so it's just one more person that I can help and inform and nurture. So I've found a really great place where I know I'm really useful, and all of my life, like the good and the bad and everything in between, can really help other people. And that's just a huge satisfaction for me.
Yeah, that's your story. That's your legacy, which comes from this gift that you got in your young age.
Yeah. Because I love performing. Yeah, I loved working on the Mickey Mouse Club. But that doesn't have to be my life, like doing other things like that. I've branched out now. So I would never trade my time on the Mickey Mouse Club, like the ups and downs and everything in between. I would never trade that experience, because I was in love with that show. Just like any fan, I would come home and it would be recorded, because usually I would make it home by 5:30 when it aired in Florida. And so I'd have it on the VHS and I'd play it back at 6:30 or 7. Whenever I got home from working on the show, I would just go watch, like, okay, what did we do? Like, how did it turn out? I was just as excited to see everything as someone else would be who was a fan of the show. So yeah, those are priceless years for me.
And I'll say this, because I had the opportunity to speak with him at 90s Con. I know Fred Newman. I remember him telling me at 90s Con, not 90s Con, I'm sorry, MMC 30, like how he was so inspired by, like, you're talking about the work that you do now. He was so inspired by, like, seeing all of you and what you've all branched out to do, and I'm sure he was also one of those people that probably nurtured you and showed you some of that stuff in the business too.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool, because I was so young. I really didn't know what everyone's role was in the beginning, and I didn't understand all the details really how Fred influenced a lot of the comedy on the show, and was a writer, and so I would kind of learn over the years, and it was just equally impressive to see how like spontaneous and ingenuitive he was, and how creative, and how he would just kind of be in the middle of so much of the creative aspect of the comedic skits and everything, and he would invent a lot of characters, and so I looked up to him a lot, and it was really cool to see him there and contribute, and it's kind of like he's the same. He's just, it's just he's been frozen in time, and it was just really, really cool to see him there. There were Mouseketeers at MMC 30 where they'd never met before. Like I would introduce two Mouseketeers who had been on different seasons, and I was the only one who worked with both of them, kind of thing. I mean, not the only one, but the one introducing them to each other. So, it was just surreal.
Because I think from beginning to end, it was you, Lindsay, Josh.
Yes.
That was it, right?
Me, Lindsay, and Josh were on kind of the day-to-day format of the episodes. And of course,
the party.
And the party were still in the same, like, you could say job, but it just looked very different for them.
Yeah.
So me and Lindsay and Josh held down the fort on the set for all 7 seasons.
And I think like the party kind of disappeared for that one season when the record album came out. And then
they were just, somewhere else. They were just working in another place, but they were.
And that's marketing.
That's right.
And then the last season, Jason and Tiffany came back.
Yes. So much fun.
My only complaint about the last season was Fred. No Fred.
Right. Wasn't that they brought it, and no disrespect to those actors, but
No,
they brought in some random adults, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. Let's do a skit. It was so weird.
I'm gonna share a story with you quickly now too. So folks watching this, little background information. There's a skit called the Frady Bunch, based off of the Brady Bunch. I don't think you were in that one.
No,
so one of the actress who plays the mom is a good friend of mine, Leslie Ferrer Rudolph, who's Abby Cadabby on Sesame Street.
That's awesome. See,
so
and that's why I would never disrespect the actors. It's not their fault. They got hired for this job, but us children who have been acting with the same 2 or 3 adults for like 5 or 6 years are now like, okay, now I'm with this lady and this guy, and like, who, okay, what are we do? Okay, great. That was the case for Clarissa Explains It All, I'm sure someone on here could type it. I don't remember what her name was that we changed it to, but like Samantha Explains It All. I don't know what it was, but I had a dad that was like some new actor that it was just weird.
Should have Fred.
Yeah, it's just, I'm like, where did everybody go? I don't know what happened. And they don't tell me those things. That was way above my security clearance, I guess. But and I think that was where I was a lot of that type of change that came with season 7. To me, I don't think it affected me as much as I would have expected, because I was already college minded. I knew, we hadn't had a big discussion about the show ending. I didn't know if that was going to be happening. That I didn't know.
Were there rumblings around that time about it happening?
Yeah, there was a lot of, curiosity, because they changed so much, and because we had such wonderful new, so much younger Mouseketeers in the cast. We all kind of thought, well, I could see how they would just sort of evolve a lot of us out. Kevin was in his 20s, Dale, like, people were older. There were non-teenagers on that show, in season 7 and probably season 6. And so I don't think any of us would have been shocked, had we heard while we were taping that was the case. But I did not know until I got a letter after the season was wrapped, season 7. But I had already been accepted into NYU. And so I was like, well, my contract's almost up, and I guess I'm just assuming, unless they're, I don't know what I was thinking. I just knew that I was like, I guess I'm going to college, I'm just going to do that. And so my mind was just in a different place. I was sort of longing for just going to school for a while, because I'd been working and going to school since I was 10 years old. And I was like, I'm kind of excited just to go to college all by itself and learn stuff, that'd be great. So I was, you could say I had senioritis in season.
Well, let me ask you. So you said you got a letter, and especially for those of you who are on the show for like a really long time, like had the show already wrapped and packed up, and then later on they sent it to you. So there was never even like a
Never a
closure.
declaration. That's right. That's right. You know, I remember, you know, there's a relatively famous picture that circulates on social media every now and again with me, Justin Timberlake, and Ryan Gosling, and they're kind of in my lap, or I don't know how we were positioned, but we were all at Wet and Wild, and it was season 6, and it was the wrap party. So we'd all already been in the pool or whatever we were doing, and it was nighttime, and we were probably, I don't know, eating or hanging out in another area of the park. And they'd come to me, and they were just sort of talking to me about how they were afraid that this was the only season they would get to do, that it would be done. And that picture, even though you can't see it as much with Ryan, but Justin is totally teary-eyed. Like, I'm literally consoling these little boys. Like, I'm sure there's going to be one more. Like, I'm sure that we're coming back, because they just gotten on, and I'm pretty sure that all of them were fans, you know, before they'd been on the show, like before they'd been cast. Yeah. And again, nurturing and encouraging. I was just there, like trying to be like, hey man, keep your chin up. And then someone took our picture, and they're all like, you know, like trying to, hey, even though we were having just kind of a very weepy moment, and we did come back, you know, for another show. And so I think it was probably a similar idea that we were all just like, I don't know. Like, you know, Jen's got this college opportunity, and, you know, Dale's, you know, 45, and you know, like we're all like, I don't know what's going to happen, you know? And so when the letter came, I think honestly, if it had come any other season, I probably would have been devastated. And I think because I had some stuff on the horizon, and I felt like I really had done what I came to do, I don't think it was that horrible when the letter arrived. I think we all kind of knew, or were bracing for it. Let's just say that.
Gotcha. But I mean, in a way, you guys did get to come back, and you had that closure at MMC 30, which, I mean, again, probably like one of the best parties. I mean, and I know for you guys it probably was huge, but for all the fans that attended, I mean, that was magical. Probably something that can never ever be repeated and replicated again.
Well, never the first one, you know. Yeah. I mean, I think part of the magic on our end was, honestly, I don't think, like, those of us who weren't seeing the numbers and processing the tickets like always in the club did, the rest of us, we didn't know if anyone was going to show up. Like, we had no idea that we were going to be staring at a sea of people on Saturday night. And we were all just like, oh my gosh, like, okay, you know. So I think that particular magic for those Mouseketeers who were present for that event, I don't think that can be replicated, because now we're going to hope for everyone to come back, and we're going to hope for it to grow, you know, because we can see the potential. But that was really, really special on our end as well, just to see how many people showed up together to be a part of that event.
Yeah, Rocky walks Mickey Mouse out, and little fireworks in there, the all on stage. Incredible.
Just incredible. Yeah.
What a weekend. What a weekend that was.
I know. Well, and I was exhausted. I just wanted snacks. I was just like yelling at everyone to get me snacks. I was like, come on, man, this itinerary is crazy. Somebody feed me.
They had you guys running. So and we're like rock and rolling here one time, so I don't want to keep it too long. I just had two quick questions, and I want to promote what you do now. First thing, and we see this all the time, Disney Plus. Who knows what's going to happen? I know I'm sure all you guys are hoping Disney Plus at some point just put the Mouseketeers on.
I would love for that to happen. I really would. I would love to watch myself on Disney Plus. That would be super weird and great. That'd be great.
They could have a little Jen icon. You can have it.
Super weird. Jen McGill. JenniferMcGill.com.
And then one of the other questions that came up too, and I know they tried it a couple of years, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, Mickey Mouse Club. Do you think it's something with a new generation that could be rekindled, or do you think we're in It would be so much different the way social media is now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I saw in the, I guess it's like, you know, the test group, it was the Facebook version of the Mickey Mouse Club coming back. I really loved what I saw in the episodes. I loved that they were writing their songs and choreographing. I mean, I think that is representative of the next generation, that they do more in the production. They are more hands-on and more in the creative process. And I absolutely see it happening. I don't know if someone would stay on as long as we did back in the day, because I really think that if you get all of those, you know, super kids with all of their creative abilities and get them in social media and just let them soar, they're going to move on quickly, because it's what you do. Like when you have so much talent, you know, in the way of the world, and how they're going to grow. So, but I do think it could be a really amazing show. I would love it to be broadcast or put on Disney Plus. Like I would love for it to be, you know, differently accessible than maybe just Facebook. But I do think that there's not a generation that doesn't need kids like them who love to songwrite and love to dance. And maybe in your small town, you just don't think that you have, you know, the resources, or you don't have anyone around you to kind of go to class with, or to talk about everything with, or to, like, you know, see someone really go and do what you have in your heart that you'd like to do. You know, you need to see it manifested on television, or, you know, manifested on social media. So I would say that even though you have that in the world, which I love, you know, because everybody can be so accessible now through all the digital media, but it would be cool to have a like-minded group, like a family of young people, and, you know, maybe some adults too, that have a very special variety show. It would take, I would say, a production team that believes in that kind of production. So like, yeah, like, do you need to put everybody together on one show to have a lot of talented kids out there being, you know, mentors and icons and people to look up to? No. But in the spirit of Disney and the tradition of what the Mickey Mouse Club has always set out to do, yes, it is always a good idea to have a family and a family-minded show where we talk about diversity and politics and loving each other and celebrating each other. And, oh, look, we're all so talented and we're creating things. And what about you? And come on our show. Like, of course, that's always a good idea. And I think it just would take the right team. And, you know, how do we work it for, you know, this generation to make it as impactful as possible? But what I remember, you know, because I've been looking at some home videos recently and kind of trying to, like, literally kind of fall in love with the little me again, like kind of look at the unicorn that I was, and like what my memories are of it, and try to kind of see myself through the eyes of now the people that I nurture, like how I nurture people now. I want to go back and look at me and kind of love the weirdo that I was back on the show and stuff. And, you know, I see now from all the home videos that we were trained to think like a family. Like the beginning of that show, when the first cast, we went on picnics and we celebrated all the holidays together, and we had cookouts at the apartments, and we were in the pool together, and our brothers and sisters were in school with us together, and the moms and dads were in the audience section for rehearsals and blockings. We were all upon each other as a big old chaotic family, for better or for worse. And so I realize now, of course, I'm going to look at the show like that, even through the seasons, even as we got more professional and polished, and like the moms and dads weren't all up in everything, and the sisters and brothers weren't in school with us. And I think that's the heart of what our casting director, Matt Casella, wanted from the beginning, was that we are a family, and that it extended out to our viewers, that we were just like them. We just happened to be on a television show, able to do, like, kind of upgrade our ideas and our talents, but like, we're just like you, you know, we're all part of a big family. So there's always room for that in entertainment.
And you mentioned that, like, extended family. Like, how do you feel 30 years later, 30 plus years later now, right? When doing a 90s content, when MMC 30, and these people who impacted. years ago. Like, what is that like?
What is that like?
Especially, and then social
And then
media.
social media.
People, I mean, Mickey Mouse Club. There
Mickey
was
Mouse
no
Club, there was no
internet and stuff
internet
when
and
Mickey
stuff
Mouse
when
Club was
Mickey
on.
Mouse Club was
Even
on. Even
before
before
these events,
these events,
people who found
people
you on
who found
social
you
media
on
were like,
social
"Oh my
media,
God, I
like, oh
got
my
you!" And
God,
like, what was that like?
what was that like?
Yeah, Facebook really. I talked to a few Mouseketeers through the years before the event started, and I think that's what brought a lot of us back around to, or planted the idea within a few of us for the first time, even that our fans are still like active and interested, and they fondly remember their time with us on the show, and they're like organizing, you know, and I think that's why there was the need to put together Always in the Club, and then beyond that to start, you know, giving back through that foundation. And always, for me, the way I approach all of that is, like I say, my family members, you know, and a lot of fans of my album from 2017, which is called Unbreakable, they call it the Unbreakable family, you know. But to me, like, you know, family is of course beyond that one album. It precedes that and also is after it. um and I think that, you know, there a few of us like me kind of always carried that torch, that everyone was my brother and sister on that show. And I get why, because of the way I was brought up in that show. We were a family in the very beginning, for sure, like brothers and sisters, and then the brothers and the sisters of our, you know, brothers. And so I always treated in my heart, like I just sort of put everybody under that label of we're all family. And so when I would see people later, you know, someone like for instance, I hadn't seen Brandy as an adult until like a year or two before MMC 30. I went to visit her in Alabama. I just decided I'm going to go see her. And it was incredible to speak with this woman, you know, that was one of my big sisters from back in the day, and to, you know, experience her as a fully formed human, you know, with a family and all the things. And that stuff was really special for me when I got that one-on-one time with everyone. And then on the flip side, when I would see, even when I was in the middle of all my struggles with, you know, what is fame and where is my place in the world with all of that, and what is my purpose, you know, beyond the show, when I would meet fans, all of them were so vocal about how I was a really healthy part of their young life, where I helped them get through a hard time, you know, with the Hanging On for Dear Life song, or they really appreciated that they saw someone like them on the show, or they learned all the dance moves and, you know, all the things. And so, honestly, that is part of, I would say, my healing process from all of my hardest times in, you know, the years of identity crisis, was hearing from these people how even when I was just living my life and I didn't understand higher purpose, and I didn't have this long game, and I wasn't this strategic business lady, I was impacting people in a positive way, even when I didn't have it all together. So I think I've really carried that close. And even with 90s Con, I actually think that was the most like ministry type of experience I've had. I'm very into ministry, but I can't tell you how many women came to me and said, it was so helpful to have someone like you on the show that looked like me, that made me feel like normal and beautiful and on purpose. And I would look every single one of those ladies in the eye and say, you are made the way that you are made on purpose. You are made just the way that you need to be. And I said, I wish I knew that back in the day when I was inspiring you, but I didn't, you know? And I said, I'm just like you. You know, I go through the same struggles and the same questions and all of the identity crisis and the struggle with the mirror and all the things. Like, we're not exempt from that. And I think part of my journey with fans has been to be transparent so that they understand that, like, you know, maybe they look up to me and they see what they see in me, but they need to know that sometimes I don't see that in myself, or that that's struggle through the years, because everybody goes through that. And it's really important that someone that they look up to tells them, you're not alone. you're not alone. I'm a normal human being, just like, and so to me, again, just going back in with all the nurturing and the encouraging, I found my purpose there. And I'm so glad that I had the Mickey Mouse Club as sort of a springboard to maybe 30 years down the road now to tell people how beautiful they are and how on purpose and how beautifully made they are, regardless of what, let's say, all these other labels and what the world tells us we need to look like. I mean, it's one of the biggest lies of this universe, or this world. I guess I can't speak for the rest of the universe. I don't know what's going on Saturn, but here, we're told that we have to look a certain way, and that there's only one way to play that game. And I'm so glad that society in the last few decades has turned that around a lot. Because it's honestly, it makes us bullies of ourselves. We talk about cyberbullying and we talk about verbal abuse, but are we really looking at ourselves and what we say to ourselves every day? So I am super grateful that I have that time with everyone at 90s Con and pre 90s Con and then after, to kind of speak life into people, because it's also a revolving door of healing for me.
Nice. I just want to share two things that people posted here. Susan wrote, family is special. Absolutely. Yes. And then Carrie wrote, MMC plus Unbreakable family is life-changing. I mean, like, yeah, absolutely.
We are, like, the Unbreakable family is this, mighty little group of, like-minded people who just, they believe in the music, they believe in the message of, that we're not alone, that we're here to not only pick ourselves back up and, connect with God, but also to help other people be stronger and to help other people when they feel like they're falling down. And, one of my fans experiences a lot of physical pain, even, day to day. And she listens to the album, to gain strength. And like, who am I to say that that's not enough purpose in my life to be a part of giving music to someone that can be a day-changing kind of experience for them. And that's just one person, but like, these are people that I, Facebook message with, and that I get to see in person sometimes, and that we wish each other happy birthday, and I talk to their children. It's not a fan thing, it's a family. And last year I started a Christmas tree. It's my family Christmas tree, and I will have one every year, and I will always have a PO box where people can send me ornaments. And so every year, and you can do it all year round, like if you just really feel like you want to do it now, like Christmas in July or something, I guess. But everyone just sends me ornaments, and I decorate the tree for a special virtual concert, in the Christmas season. Because I just can't think of another tree that would I love Christmas ornaments, and they hold so much deep memory for me with all my travels. My mother and I used to travel a lot with all the work and stuff when I was still a minor. And so I have all of these ornaments that just, when I hold that ornament, it brings back so many beautiful memories. And I thought, I want that for my family experiences too, to hold an ornament and remember, that's right, this was the year that XYZ happened, and she sent this to me, and yep, Bella made this, TJ made that, this is for Baxter, so yeah, I can't explain how I will always be a family-oriented Mouseketeer, both with my cast members and with the fans. That's just how I'm made.
Wow. I mean, Carrie wrote hearts. I mean, yeah, you could not have said it better. I mean, and that's what it's all about, right?
That should be what it's all about. And that's what I believe those of us who are in it, in Always in the Club and showing up to these events, I believe that we are on that road. That's how we've gathered back, because we feel that with each other.
Yeah. And with perfect thing, I want to say perfect thing, but that MMC 30 happened right before world change, and then obviously everybody came together after and during that time period. So
I was lucky to live in a town where we could have a little bit of a quarantine there, and I could be with a few of us, during the I guess the first big burst of COVID time and all the isolation. So Now, full disclosure, like I will say, COVID is horrible, and I wish it had not happened. But because I'm an introvert, I, on a side note, have really enjoyed having sort of a more secluded time, like a time of reflection and working from home more, and like, not putting on going out pants all the time, just chilling out, and so I've really enjoyed it. Like it gave me some time to literally make a home studio. And honestly, I teach all over the world from right here, and I do interviews from here, and my dog is literally like a little dog skin rug on the floor here, just enjoying this time. And
Yeah.
I get to look out the window and the birds are chirping or whatever. And so I know that that's just a small thing compared to, what's going on in the world. But honestly, for introverts, to be able to refuel helps me help other people better. So, it's, it was kind of like, yeah, isolation is horrible, but it's so quiet right now.
I won't disagree.
I reconnected with nature. You revamp your website. You have some time to do a few things.
It was a reset for everybody,
Yeah, So, and that's me. I just try to find the silver lining. But that whole time is just horrible and heartbreaking, and there's so many hard stories. But also it was a really cool opportunity for the Mouseketeers to come together for the Christmas album. Why? Because it's Christmas. And so I was really, really excited. I actually have I don't know if you can see it like in this frame, but
I can give you the full screen.
I have my billboard, my little billboard chart here.
Let me give you the, I want to see me. Let me go to me. There you go. There you are. There you are.
Ah. So yeah, I got my little billboard plaque back there, which was just such a fabulous surprise, that during this time we could come together remotely and just from all across America, that we could have this amazing collection of the adult versions of ourselves singing these beautiful songs. Like the first time I heard Tasha's song, I was just like, it's so beautiful, because I'm I'm meeting all of these childhood brothers and sisters as adults, sometimes for the first time, and to hear these beautiful, mature versions of these voices that I grew up listening to, just like everybody else did, it was just so awesome. And full disclosure, I'm not a big Christmas album listener, but I love this album because of what it represents during such a hard time of isolation, and really giving everybody something new to consume and help them get through hard times, and celebrate, also the meaning of Christmas, of course. But really just this sort of universal love and unity that we had. And it's just amazing that Billboard was a thing, like to just kind of say, yeah, this was a thing. Like, look, people listened and people showed up, I mean, I have the hoodie, I have the Christmas ornament. Again, fan. I'm a fan,
There you go.
I bought the stuff. So yeah, I just, I'm always going to find the silver lining. That is, I believe that everything has a purpose, and that we are not supposed to know all the answers. We are not the end of it. We are in the middle of all of it. There's a whole big spiritual world around us. And, all I want to do is be strong enough day to day to help other people. That's the goal. There's no point in being famous.
Well, and I think you've done that tonight. Carrie says this part is making me teary.
Yeah, good.
Susan says love you so much, Jen. From Bella, Susan, and TJ.
Yeah, love you guys too.
Carrie says hunting comes back to fun, and Papa Ted says hi to Baxter.
Hi to Baxter. That's right. Papa Ted and Baxter are friends. Baxter's my dog. Yeah. He says hi. He says mer.
So I do have on the bottom here your website, JenniferMcGill.com. So if people do want to listen to your music, and I guess you can sign up or reach out for information about coaching and the other stuff that you do, they can get a hold of you for that as well.
That's right. Yeah, there's a contact section if you have questions about voice lessons or anything. If you you can scroll through the website and find, everything else. And all my social media is connected through there. And I do have the live stream of this in my Instagram bio, but you'll let me know if there's another one I need to put on there for later.
We'll do. Is there anything else before we go that people can look forward to coming from you? Any new albums or other work?
I've got this new secret project of merch or merchandise inspired by my time at 90s Con, I would say. And I'm hoping to have it introduced as a collection September-ish, but there is, I'm not rushing the process. So it's kind of the beginning of this new era of like cool collections that I want to create and have for people. But I would say the other thing that's ongoing is I do have a subscription service to McGill Mail. And this is in the spirit of writing into the Mickey Mouse Club and being pen pals. And so my top level is a pen pal where we literally write back and forth. And, I write back once a month. And, there's like a special card included, like during the year, it's a year-long subscription. There's another one where I type out like a blog, but I only send it to those subscribers. I don't post it online. It's something really from my heart that I send out to my McGill Musings subscribers. And then there's a basic subscription, which honestly, no one is subscribed to because they don't want just like a little note here and there. They want the interaction, which is the purpose. That's why I put it together. So you can find that in my store, under like McGill Mail or Pen Pals. It's also a link in my Instagram bio, but I really love pen paling with everybody and putting all that together. And maybe someday I'll make a book for the McGill Musings, maybe someday I'll make a little collection of that. But, I would love to do a book. I think that's, if I can make it through this life and finally get a book out, that would be awesome. That would be probably the final frontier for me in something that I would love to do that I haven't quite done yet. That would be the thing. But everything else is just gravy. I just take it as it comes. And right now I'm working on a collection and I can't say any more about what kind of collection it is, but hopefully everyone will enjoy it when it gets here.
Some of the fans can't wait to excite. I'm excited too, Carrie says. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you. I mean, we went over where we were going, but this was truly fantastic tonight.
Well, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure. I jabber on, so usually they do go a little longer with me.
No, that's great. And I thank everybody who came out to watch this tonight. Go to jennifermcgill.com. I know you guys already are on there, and follow Jennifer on Instagram and Facebook and all that cool stuff. And check us out at Incredicon HV on Instagram and our YouTube page and all that stuff too. So Jennifer, thank you so much again for tonight. What if you just hold off for a minute when I end the broadcast? We'll just wrap up afterwards. But everybody, thank you for tuning in. McGill Mail is magical and uplifting, Susan says. So there you go.
We do have some subscribers in the audience tonight. Yes.
I know, we get it.
Yeah.
And get the music.
Guys. Thank you guys. Love you.
Have a good night, everybody.